Ladies and gentlemen, children of the Most High, listen to me right now, not tomorrow, not later, but now. Because a divine announcement has been released from heaven's throne room, and if you've got ears to hear, your entire life is about to be repositioned for purpose and power. God has spoken. Yes, the Eternal One, the Ancient of Days, the one who declares the end from the beginning. He has issued a decree and not a whisper, not a suggestion, not a maybe, a divine declaration. God said 5 things will happen in August. This isn't speculation. This isn't a dream from a man. This isn't the echo of religious routine. This is prophetic fire straight from the throne, and it's about to disrupt complacency, destroy confusion, and launch the faithful into divine alignment. The wind is shifting. The clock of heaven has struck. August 2025 will be a prophetic collision of destiny, decisions, and divine moves. You can't afford to miss this. You were born for this. It's not just a date, it's a doorway. And only the bold, only the faithful, only the surrendered will walk through it. Are you wondering why certain people are fading out of your life right now? Why some relationships are under pressure? Why the connections you once leaned on feel loose, distant, or even toxic? Let me tell you, this is no accident. This is not life falling apart. This is divine strategy at work. God is pulling you back to push you forward. He's not abandoning you. He's separating you to elevate you. This is the season where God is cutting cords you thought were covenant, where he's removing familiar comforts so you can finally walk by faith, not familiarity. And you got to be spiritually alert, because if you misinterpret the separation, you'll run back to what God is rescuing you from. You'll chase after what heaven is trying to delete. Let that sink in. There are some people in your circle that can't handle the version of you that's about to rise in August 2025. You see, God isn't just upgrading your blessing. He's upgrading your identity. He's taking you from survival to significance, from confusion to calling, from pressure to purpose. And in order to do that, he has to detach you from what's draining you. You may not realize it yet, but your environment is either fueling your destiny or fighting it. The people around you either push you toward purpose or keep you shackled to your past. That's why God is applying his divine scissors. Not out of cruelty, but out of protection, because he knows where you're headed requires clarity, purity, and power, and not everyone in your current circle can steward that with you. God is sending a strong wind in August 2025, and this wind will blow some people out of your life. But don't be afraid of the wind. The same wind that blows away the chaff is the wind that fans the fire of purpose in your soul. Some friends, some voices, even some opportunities may disappear, but it's not subtraction, it's sacred alignment. You can't carry dead weight into destiny. You can't take bitterness into breakthrough. You can't move with compromise and expect consecration. God is calling you to higher, but before he takes you there, he must strip you here. Like Gideon's army. What started with 32,000 was reduced to 300 because quantity doesn't equal calling. Crowds don't confirm purpose. Obedience does. And don't be surprised when the people you've helped the most turn away the fastest. That's part of the process. When God begins to separate, the first thing he often reveals is who was assigned to your comfort and who was assigned to your calling. Those attached to your comfort will resist your growth, but those aligned with your calling will celebrate your rising, even if it means stepping aside. In this season, you will feel the tension between holding on and letting go. But the oil only flows where God ordained. And if you're still chasing expired connections, you'll miss the fresh appointment God has for you. You cannot cling to what was and still grasp what's next. That's why the separation is necessary. The higher the calling, the deeper the cutting. When God begins to elevate, he does it in secret first. You'll feel isolated, overlooked, and even misunderstood. But that is exactly how he refines champions. He doesn't build warriors in the spotlight. He builds them in the cave, in the fire, in the furnace of quiet obedience. What feels like loneliness is actually training. What feels like loss is actually launch. This is not rejection. This is redirection. You're not being buried, you're being planted. The pruning is painful, but it's also prophetic. God is preparing you, positioning you, protecting your future by shaking everything that was never meant to stay. Because what's coming in August 2025 will require you to stand strong, and you can't stand tall with weak ties and spiritual compromise. Have you ever looked back at your life and asked, why did that have to happen? Have you ever stood in the middle of pain, confusion, or delay and cried out, God, what was the point of that season? You smiled in public, but inside you were battling with silent questions. You shouted praises, but your soul whispered, I don't understand. If that's you, you're about to step into divine clarity. August 2025 is the month where God unveils what was always hidden, the deep purpose behind every pressure, the meaning behind every mess, the strategy behind every struggle. The fog is lifting, the pieces are clicking. What didn't make sense before is about to make prophetic sense now. God never wastes a battle. He never lets pain pass through your life without attaching purpose to it. The delays, the betrayals, the no's, the detours, they were never detours to him. They were divine detours to divine destinations. You thought he had forgotten you. You thought your calling had been buried. But all along he was weaving something eternal into the very threads of your waiting. See, when you're walking through it, you only see fragments. But God sees the full blueprint. You see broken dreams. He sees a masterpiece. You see failure. He sees formation. You see delay. He sees development. And now the curtain is being pulled back. The heavens are about to reveal the why you've been praying for. For some of you, the attack on your life was never about where you were, but where you were headed. Hell knew who you were before you did. That's why you were hit so hard. That's why your childhood was attacked, your mind battled, your self-worth questioned. Because even when you didn't know your purpose, your enemy did. But in August 2025, God says, I'm unlocking the mystery. The dreams you abandoned. He's resurrecting them. The assignments you thought were over, he's reigniting them. The disappointments that made you feel disqualified, he's showing you how they prepared you. What looked like failure was actually foundation. It's been hidden until now. Hidden not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. Because if you had seen the full plan too early, pride would have ruined the process. If you had known everything in advance, you would have leaned on strategy instead of the Spirit. So God kept it hidden until you were ready. This is a season of divine revelation. Ideas are about to be born out of your wounds. Vision is coming out of your valley. Revelation is rising out of your rejection. That job you lost, that door that closed, that relationship that failed, it wasn't the end, it was an introduction. Because now you're walking into the aha moment of your calling. Don't be surprised when you start connecting dots that never made sense before. Don't be shocked when you suddenly have insight about a season you once hated. God is shining light on what was once dark. He's turning trauma into testimony, setbacks into strategy, and confusion into clarity. The story you thought was over is about to become the platform for your next breakthrough. Even your personality, your quirks, your strengths, your scars, he's about to show you how they fit into his design. You weren't random. You weren't a mistake. You aren't just surviving, you are being shaped for significance. And now the blueprint is being revealed, the scroll is being opened, and your life is about to make prophetic sense. You don't need a title to be chosen. You don't need a platform to be purposed. All you need is revelation, and it's coming. The fog is lifting, the silence is breaking, the mystery is unraveling. God is speaking. And this time you'll understand. Have you ever felt like you've been faithful, yet empty-handed? Like you've prayed, served, sacrificed, tithed, believed, and still walked away from seasons with less than what you started with. You gave when you barely had enough. You poured out when you were running on fumes. And you held on even when everything in you wanted to let go. And deep down you wondered, God, where's the harvest for my obedience? August 2025 is the divine shift. It is the moment heaven opens its treasury and says, now it's time for the transfer. The season of just enough is giving way to a season of supernatural overflow. Not by your power, not by your hustle, not by worldly systems, but by the hand of the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. The wealth of the wicked has been stored up for the righteous, and now the vault is being unlocked. This is not about chasing money. This is about kingdom resources being reallocated. It's about the faithful being trusted. It's about those who've been hidden being handed keys. For years, corrupt hands have mismanaged provision. Systems have been bloated with greed. But God is flipping the tables like he did in the temple. He's removing what was never his and releasing it to those who are aligned with heaven's agenda. There are assignments waiting on your ability to fund them. Ministries waiting to be launched. Communities waiting to be fed. Orphans waiting to be cared for. Vision waiting to be built. And God is saying, I'm releasing resources to those who will steward the mission, not just chase the money. If you've been faithful with the little, get ready, increases on the move. This wealth transfer will not come by worldly strategy. It will come by divine connections, supernatural ideas, kingdom favor, and radical obedience. God will drop business blueprints in your dreams. He will give you insight that makes no sense on paper but explodes in results. Contracts will come out of nowhere. Opportunities will fall into your lap. Not because of networking, but because of divine navigating. The kind of doors that no man can shut because they were opened by God himself. So get ready. Get your heart postured. Get your hands clean. Because God is not just blessing randomly. He's transferring strategically. He's placing provision in the hands of those who've proven their loyalty through the furnace. This isn't about what's in your bank account. It's about what's in your spirit. Because those who are found faithful will be found funded. Have you noticed lately that things once hidden are starting to come to light? Have you felt a stirring in your spirit, a holy discomfort that tells you something beneath the surface is being exposed? You're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. You're discerning a divine disruption. Because August 2025 is marked not only by breakthrough, but by bold exposure, a cleansing wind that's about to sweep through systems, structures, platforms, and even pulpit. For too long, deception has dressed itself in influence. Lies have sat comfortably in high places. Corruption has been protected by titles, wealth, and status. But the righteous judge has risen from his throne, and his gavel is about to strike. What man built in pride, God will strip in justice. What they did behind closed doors, God is about to broadcast in the open. This is not about gossip. This is not spiritual entertainment. This is about heaven demanding holiness. Again, for too long, darkness has masqueraded as light. Leaders have been elevated not for character, but for charisma. Platforms have been used to manipulate rather than to minister. And the Father is grieved, not just by what's been done, but by how many stayed silent while it was done. But now comes the exposure. Now comes the divine unveiling. Governments, churches, financial systems, entertainment industries, educational institutions. Every mountain of influence is being shaken. And everything that is not built on truth will collapse under the weight of that truth. Because God is not just after comfort. He's after cleansing. There are preachers who built kingdoms for themselves instead of advancing the kingdom of God. There are politicians who made secret deals that served their own pocket while communities suffered. There are business moguls who silenced the poor and oppressed the voiceless while living off stolen gain. And now the voice of the Lord is thundering, enough. This is a season where the fake will be exposed, where hidden agendas will be uncovered, where the mask will fall off and what's behind it will shock the world. What was done in darkness is about to be judged by light. The shaking isn't coming, it has already begun. And August 2025 is where heaven's courtroom will collide with earth's corruption. But understand this, God exposes not to destroy people, but to destroy pride, deception, and systems that have stood in opposition to righteousness. Exposure is mercy wrapped in fire. It is grace that refuses to let things continue unchecked, because he loves his people too much to let them be led by wolves in sheep's clothing, because he is jealous for purity, because he is holy. Don't be alarmed when names fall. Don't be confused when reputations crumble. Don't be dismayed when familiar institutions are shaken at their foundation. What you are witnessing is not chaos, it's cleansing. God is restoring reverence to his house. He is teaching the world again that he cannot be mocked, that you can't mix holy with hidden sin and expect him to stay silent. This exposure will not spare the popular. It will not favor the wealthy. It will not bow to influence. It will only respond to truth. And when God begins to tear down, it's not because he's cruel, it's because he's preparing to build again in purity. His glory will not rest on filthy altars. His fire will not fall on polluted platforms. And those who try to manipulate the anointing for personal gain will feel the weight of accountability. This is a wake-up call to the pretenders. But it's also a moment of vindication for the faithful, those who are mocked for standing in truth, those who are cast aside for refusing to compromise, those who are silenced for speaking righteousness. Heaven is about to honor them publicly because they didn't bow, they didn't bend, and they didn't break under pressure. The world is watching, but more importantly, heaven is watching. In August 2025 will be a divine unveiling like we've never seen. The fear of God is returning. And with it, the kind of exposure that leads not just to scandal, but to repentance, restoration, and a holy realignment of everything that has drifted too far from the truth. Have you ever felt like you've been walking in slow motion while watching others sprint into success? Have you been faithful, obedient, consistent, but still feel like life has been crawling at a snail's pace? You've seen the promises, you've carried the vision, but the progress has felt painfully delayed, and somewhere in the waiting you started to wonder, God, did I miss it? Did I mess it up? Is it ever going to happen for me? But here's the prophetic truth you need to hear loud and clear. You're not behind. You're right on time. You've been moving according to heaven's calendar, not man's clock. And what's felt like divine delay has actually been divine preparation. Because when God brings acceleration, he doesn't rush the process. He redeems the time. August 2025 is not just another month. It's a supernatural launch pad. A divine green light. A month marked by acceleration that will break the limits of logic and bypass the pace of natural progress. What should have taken years will happen in months. What took others a decade will take you a season. Not because you're better, but because you've been processed, pruned, and postured in secret. God is about to fast forward the story of the faithful. Not the ones who hustled in the flesh, but the ones who trusted in the Spirit. The ones who waited when it didn't make sense. The ones who kept praying when no answers came. The ones who sowed in tears, believed through storms, and praised in the wilderness. Acceleration is heaven's reward for enduring. This isn't just speed, it's divine propulsion. A momentum that can't be explained. A pace that can't be replicated. A movement that man cannot manufacture. It's the kind of favor that opens doors no degree can earn. It's the kind of progress that leaves people asking, how did they get here so fast? But what they don't see is the crushing, the isolation, the secret yes you gave God when no one was watching. God is about to take you from overlooked to overbooked, from hidden to highlighted, from waiting in line to being called to the front. But don't confuse this acceleration with striving. This isn't about pushing harder. It's about yielding deeper. Because when you move in sync with heaven, what felt impossible becomes inevitable. There are blueprints God gave you years ago that you shelved because you thought the window had closed. Visions that felt irrelevant because time passed and nothing moved. But God says, dust it off. Because the time you thought you lost is about to be restored. Acceleration is not just about what's next, it's about redeeming what was missed. He's redeeming lost years, missed opportunities, delayed answers, broken timelines. And when he redeems time, he doesn't just catch you up, he launches you beyond. But this kind of acceleration can't be triggered by talent or tenacity. It's only activated by obedience and alignment. This is why the struggle was so intense. This is why hell tried to wear you out. Because if you ever held on long enough to reach this moment, you'd step into a pace that threatened everything darkness tried to lay. You're not late. You're not stuck. You're in line for the kind of breakthrough that accelerates not just your life, but your legacy. Expect sudden shifts, sudden calls, sudden approvals, sudden open doors. But be warned, you must move when God says move. This acceleration won't wait for second guessing. It won't stop for insecurity. It won't pause for permission. The cloud is moving. And those who refuse to stay stuck in yesterday will soar into what others said would never happen. You'll see people ask, how did you get there so fast? But they won't see the silent years, the midnight prayers, the faithful obedience. They won't know the cost behind the calling, but heaven does. And heaven always accelerates those who trust the process. Because while others were running in circles, you were walking in surrender. Have you ever felt like you didn't quite fit in with the crowd? Like you were called to something deeper but couldn't explain why? Have you sat in rooms filled with noise yet still felt a holy silence inside your soul, pulling you towards something greater? You're not crazy. You're not lost. You are part of the remnant. In August 2025 is when heaven begins to activate what has been hidden in you all along. This is the moment where quiet warriors rise, where the voices that were once muted are suddenly amplified with authority. The ones who were passed over, misunderstood, mocked for their passion, ignored for their purity. These are the ones God is now calling forth. Not because they're perfect, not because they're loud, but because they never bowed to the system, because they never compromised their convictions just to fit in. There's a remnant that's been in hiding, not hiding out of fear, but out of obedience. God tucked them away, trained them in silence, sharpened them in the shadows. They didn't chase platforms. They chased his presence. They didn't strive to be seen. They surrendered to be shaped. And now the shaping is done. The fire has refined. The testing has been passed. And activation is upon them. August 2025 is not about the many. It's about the faithful few. The few who stayed clean when the world got dirty. The few who still believe holiness matters. The few who fast, pray, weep, intercede, and refuse to dilute the truth for the comfort of culture. These are the ones God is raising up, not to blend in, but to stand out with uncompromising fire and authority. This remnant will not move by titles or recognition. They will move by anointing and revelation. They will not speak what tickles ears. They will release what shakes hearts. They are not political, they are prophetic. They are not bound by traditions of men. They are led by the Spirit of God. They are disruptors of darkness and carriers of glory. They walk in discernment. They operate in truth. And they do not fear the backlash of man because they fear the holiness of God. They will invade every sphere: churches, schools, media, business, politics, entertainment. Not with compromise, but with conviction. They are not here to entertain. They are here to establish. They are here to plant the banner of righteousness where sin has ruled too long. They are here to be salt and light in a world that has grown bland and dark. Many of them won't look like what you expect. They won't come dressed in religious robes. Some will come from the streets, some from broken homes, some from prison cells. But don't let their past confuse you. The oil on their life will speak louder than their history. Because when God activates his remnant, he does not consult human opinions. He chooses who he pleases and empowers them with fire. They will carry boldness in their bones and purity in their speech. They won't be perfect, but they'll be pure. They won't know everything, but they'll move with the